did get an email. I guess we could start before I say, hello, welcome to episode 410. I did get an email.
An auspicious beginning.
Hi, JJ.
Hi.
Michael, we feel for you, man. Get well soon.
Always miss him.
Yeah. I wish Michael were here. I wanted to talk about JJ. 20 ounces of barrel-aged stouts is a lot of ounces.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
A lot more ounces than I've been drinking lately, but Michael and I and Matt, friend of the pod, went out and tried out some Bottle Logic extremely rares, some variants, and a lot of barrel agingness. And wow, I felt pretty good after.
In that you had a good time, or in that
Yeah.
they tasted good, or in that you were hammered?
Yeah. I was not hammered, but they sneak up on you quick in terms of like, it's funny what an entire group of people that have been waiting to like celebrate stuff get excited about, you know?
What do you mean?
Well,
I don't know what that means.
I mean, this is their 10th anniversary at that brewery. And so it was like a big relief that they were able to have their annual birthday event this year. And I think a lot of the people that went to this event had been to every day of the other event. And so it was just a bunch of people that I think were just waiting to celebrate just, fun and crazy stuff and getting to experience all that for quote unquote free. Then it sneaks up on you and you're like, well, that was so tasty. I'm going to go buy all the bottles.
Mm-hmm.
But it was fun because afterwards, everyone's had a few, just enough to go into the bar and just start talking. And you're like, oh, hey, how you doing? Can we sit with you? And then you run into people that are going to Comic-Con next week.
Yeah.
Like random people that you would never have talked to before, but you find out they're going to Comic-Con and they work for major companies that are going to Comic-Con and so talk to people. Have a common thing, if that's a drink or whatever, at a bar or out at an event, and then just talk to people and you'll have a good time. I got an email, was the point of this story.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No, it wasn't, but it is now. Xbox trying to explain the price increases.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Was the word inflation in there?
I don't believe so, but now you're making me second guess my answer.
Was the word oops, we didn't want to give away Call of Duty for free in there?
No. I think
because those seem like the reasons they would use.
Well, why would they? I mean, they knew they were trying to get people to sign up for the Call of Duty thing, right? Like, people that play Call of Duty were not going to sign up just for Game Pass, just for Call of Duty. But anyway,
if they got Call of Duty for free, they would.
Well,
right? Yeah. I mean,
yeah. So, it's like, oh, we're gonna $11.99 plus taxes, and we're gonna continue to bring whatever. But yes, the included benefits such as are, hey, we added new studios that were really expensive, like Bethesda and Activision.
They made us buy them.
We've got 3 times the number of games we used to have, and literally it says, look, we're adding Call of Duty Black Ops and Indiana Jones. I was like, and Indiana Jones? What? I mean, yay, but also what?
Yeah, I mean, they're making that game. Yeah.
I know they are, but yeah. You do get discounts. I don't know how much that matters to people about, like, every time a game either is coming onto or leaving Game Pass, they offer you like 30 to sometimes more % off those games. So I don't know if that's worth anything, but I guess it's kind of nice.
I mean, it's that's the Steam sale version of whatever store Microsoft is using, right?
Yeah, you got to spend money to make money, right, JJ?
Do you?
I think that's
it's like I take umbrage with their emails tone that like we had to raise prices because of these things that happen. Who could have caused this? Sorry. Like
I think it was one of those like they bought all this stuff and then they went and they opened up the accounts ledger at Call of Duty and they're like, whoa, what do you mean 150 million just for this game?
Oh, you wish it's only 150 million. It's probably like 300 million.
How can that be when they use the same engine every single year?
They have to make the guns good, Andrew. They're probably giving 50% of it to the NRA or something. I don't know. Who knows?
Who could say?
It's, they see the money printer working and they're like, let's turn this off and put it on Game Pass. And then the accountant comes up and says, what if we leave it on?
Make Sony pay it. Speaking of the money printer, it's Prime Day.
Is it?
It currently is. It'll be not Prime Day by the time this comes out.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like a yay.
I do wait sometimes for things that are large expenses. Like I'm going to buy a sound bar for one of the TVs in the house. So now I'll get $70 off of that instead of having bought it months ago.
And are you checking to make sure that price is $70 off of the actual like normal price and historically not getting ripped off that way?
I don't like to advertise for particular sites, but there are sites out there that keep track of these things and you can put in URL links from
There are in-browser editions that just paste them into the Amazon page.
Sure. Yeah.
But yes, okay.
If you don't want plugins tracking what things you're looking at on Amazon.
Sure.
You can use websites and plug them in, and they'll say, yes.
My point is, good job, and folks, you should do this.
Not every sale is a sale. Yeah, that's true. Like we were talking about with the summer sale, the Steam summer sale. Yeah, it's 70% off, but we raised the price.
Yeah. I did very much enjoy a game. Do you remember a game called, I think it was called Supraland was the original?
I don't know, but I saw two Supers in the parking lot of Home Depot today at the same time, and I said, what is happening here?
Very cool neighbors.
Yeah,
unlike your other uncool neighbors that we discussed.
How much stuff can you get into a car at Home Depot?
Dude, surprisingly more than you think. You can fit quite a bit in there. I can go to Home Depot and buy, or not Home Depot, I can go to Costco and get the like Costco sized roll of paper towels and toilet paper and fit both in them.
Wow.
It requires some finesse.
There it is.
It gets in there. It fits. There's not much room, but that fits.
I don't remember this Superland game. No.
So it's neither here nor there. It's like an old. It's a game that's been out for quite a while, but they're making a sequel.
2020. Yeah, it's 4 years ago.
And they're making a sequel called Super World. And as a joke, they posted, here's the 3 editions of Super World that we're offering,
Okay, yes.
And then it's like the first one just gets you the base game. And the deluxe edition one gets you the base game. And then all these other checkboxes below it. And then the ultimate edition gets you all these other ones, right? And every line is like a parody of one of those things. It's like 0 days early access, the 2 higher priced ones, check. It's like, all the same content. Those 2 also get it, right? And it's like, the highest level one is like, feeling of satisfaction, check.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I get you.
And then at the very bottom, the price for all of them is actually the same, but the other 2 have higher base prices with larger sale percentages. It's like this one is 70% off of $100, so it's still the same $30 or whatever.
Oh man!
And I was like, "This is a very funny joke that is very specific to Steam and how stupid it is."
Am I allowed to like these people? It's and it's one of those things these days where it's like that instantly makes me like this, these people, but you never know who's behind everything.
I mean, I know nothing about the developer, but the first game was liked enough, like a little cult kind of hit, and so it's cool that they're following it up.
Yeah. The guy in charge is David Munich, I assume is how you say that.
Couldn't possibly tell you.
Just looks like he's worked on Supra Ball and Supra Land. So there you go. Don't know.
Anyway,
that very
made
funny.
me laugh. Yeah, I had to.
Yeah. Well, I try not to purchase too many things during Prime Day, but I do save up some stuff that I'm like, okay, well, when this is on sale, I will end up buying it. I actually ended up buying some car parts that I need, like new air filters for my car, like early, just because it's cheaper and I need to replace it.
Yeah, I should look. I need to get new furnace filters. I should check and see if those are on there.
Oh, hey, we could do that right now. I get some furnace filters. I use those. I use those every 3 months because we got dogs and we're near a large road. So
yeah, we're closer to like 6, but still, it's time.
Yeah. But it led me down a rabbit hole, JJ.
Okay.
That is probably going to be a very light component class moment here.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Hit me.
We're going to have to do a component class on keyboards. Like a deep one. Because I've been wanting to work on some stuff mobile. And I want a nice keyboard for doing stuff mobile. I don't really care how portable it is. I tried out a couple things already. Have you seen foldable keyboards?
I've heard of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never used one in my own life, but I've seen them
on a desk by themselves. They're actually okay. They're like stable enough, but you can't put one on your lap. You can't put one on anything that's slightly rounded. It's got to be a flat table. You know what I mean? And they all compromise because they're hinged in some way. So like this one that I tried out had like a very strange shape for the Y key because that's where one of the hinges ended up, and I just kept hitting it accidentally. Another one, the shift button wasn't far enough over, so I kept pressing the up button instead and then going back a line in text or whatever. But I've been needing to do more on outside the house, and a lot of typing has been stuff that I've been doing. And instead of dictating or using like compromising keyboards, I was looking into things like those foldable keyboards or more, cheap Logitech scissor switch keyboards, and those have come up. And then I started down the other rabbit hole because things were on sale for Prime Day, like Keychron 75% keyboards, 10 keyless keyboards that are like ultra thin but still have mechanical like low profile switches. And then you get into like, Philco, pretty famous, I think, keyboard manufacturer Philco, makes like 60% keyboards that are Bluetooth and battery powered. Those are pretty small.
Sure. I mean,
those all come with Cherry MX switches. So now you got to decide which MX switch is best for typing, just typing. I have silvers and I have blacks at home, but what if I got some silent reds?
You threw yourself down an intentional well so that you could flail about in the the water of the fun keyboards that you're looking at.
I don't feel like I'm flailing. I definitely feel like I'm dead sea floating, right? I'm here on purpose.
Okay. So
you know what I mean?
You waded out into the ocean, with your floaty and are intentionally
I'm
enjoying
just having
your time
a good
out
time.
there.
Yeah. I'm watching the surfers, I'm just, it's the Hawaiian Ocean. You can see the bottom. There's no sharks. Just kind of hanging out.
I mean, unfortunately with keyboards, there are sharks sometimes. So you gotta be a little careful, but
what do you mean? Explain.
So, I don't know how crazy you're going into this stuff, but there are definitely places, build your own keyboards, all this kind of stuff. And that stuff can get crazy if you allow it to, right?
Yeah. Did we talk about me going to Micro Center and to check out keyboards there a while ago with someone else that was like, I don't know if I want a mechanical keyboard. And I was like, well, Micro Center's got you covered. You can go try every type of switch, right? You can go try rubber dome keys. You can try scissor keys. You can try low profile mechanical keys. You can try tap keys, like, like glass capacitive sensors. You can try all that stuff at there. And then on your way out from trying those, the back wall is all build your own keyboard stuff. And just the PCB is like $100. I was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, dude, you can spend like $500 building your own keyboard.
Just making
no
a
problem.
keyboard. Yeah. This is why I looked at pre-builts. And I mean, not necessarily expensive. I think the most expensive one I was looking at, which is still on sale, was like the Philcos. I think those are like $140. And it only kind of went down from there. But the problem you can get into, and what will probably require us to do a larger component class, or maybe we just chat about now, is like, what are you getting for your money? And what is the purpose of the use of it, right? So like,
yeah,
what are you getting for your money? Well, on the Philco one, it was a 60% keyboard. So no arrow keys, no they still has function keys, but those page up, page down, all that stuff, no number pad, no any of that. But it's, Bluetooth, it can connect to 4 things. It can connect with USB. It has full MX keys. It has PBT keycaps, which are, we can get into that too another time, but it's got, it's your Supra, right? It's like it's fast, it's sleek, and it looks good. It's got all the good parts in it, but you don't need to take it out and get it tuned. It's ready to go. That's my analogy there. But if you go from there and you go down a little bit into like on the 130s, 100 and somethings, you can feel like you're getting a really good keyboard. But if you compare back upwards, it's like, well, why would I pay $10 less to get so much less in terms of like quality, right?
Yeah, but also, like, are you typing on this every day? How much are you using it, right? And like, what is the marginal value of that $10 or whatever, right?
Yeah. Or if you cut it in half.
Yeah, right.
What do you get for 70?
Or just like buy a $20 plastic keyboard from Monoprice or whatever, and then just like beat the crap out of it. And if it gets like destroyed taking it on a plane or whatever, you don't care because it was $20.
Yeah, that's true.
Like that's the other side, right?
That is the other side. I mean, there's a lot of value in that, I think, on thinking like, hey, I don't. So you land between what about typing experience is the most important versus what about price, right? I know personally that I don't like the rubber domes. Like I really love when it's at least a laptop style scissor key. I wonder, if I would get tired typing on MX keys all day.
Yeah, I don't know. I use at home I have cherry switches.
Yeah,
I think they're
I use
black.
cherry switches on the PC I'm on silvers right now.
I think is the ones that I have. And at work, I think it's a spring keyboard. So this keyboard I use at work is extremely old. I mean, it's on a PS2 connector, if that tells you anything.
Whoa, where'd you get that from?
500 years ago when I joined the company, I found one I liked and I've just kept it. It's a keyboard. It never breaks. You have to clean it, but like it's fine.
Well,
right?
Yeah. I haven't ever cleaned my keyboard here. I should probably do that.
That's disgusting. You should probably clean it. You're not.
I blow the air out of it. The air,
okay. Yeah.
But I mean, like, there's like with cherry switches, you're supposed to like grease them every once in a while. I haven't done that.
Sure. I've never done that with this keyboard, but I mean, I'm not, I just use it for work. It's not like this is a dirty environment versus like at home where there's definitely more stuff going on, food or other stuff could potentially get on there. So yeah, grease them. It's definitely a thing you probably should do. I don't know that I ever have though.
That's true. Yeah. I like the laptop style key, but I also like I like a cherry switch key. I just wonder about getting tired typing on it or how loud and annoying it would be. But you're probably right. If it's going to go in a bag, it should probably lean in the portable direction. I think, though, since we're talking about hardware, I don't know. You've been watching Gamers Nexus recently. They've had a lot of expose stuff going on.
Yeah.
Have you been following the drama about the Intel stuff? Have they posted their videos about what's actually happening with Intel?
If they have, I haven't seen it.
Okay.
But they did post a video with a guy who works mainly in the server side, saying that he's, very confident that there's something going on with these Intel 13900 and Intel 14900 CPUs.
Well, the 13900 one is weirder because it's been out longer and no one has been talking about it. But the 14900 is relatively new. So,
but it seems
crashing
like it's
constantly.
Or it's that again, it's hard to know, right? But the stuff that seems to be happening is there are, this guy's talking from the server perspective. So game companies, it seems to be happening with games more often than other stuff. Yeah. And game companies that are buying large clusters of these, CPUs to use in servers for their games are seeing higher rates of crash with these than they should. And, not like, it's like 1 in every, 100 or something, but that's like an astronomical amount of failure rate.
Yeah,
for
PC
a server, right?
For anything. I mean, like PC parts in general should not have a 10% or 1% failure rate, really.
But it's like it fails, but then you reboot it and it's okay. It's not like the part is just bricked, right? So it's an intermittent failure, but it still fails, and it means you have to reboot the system or take the server down and bring it back up or whatever. But that's like a wild amount of failures still, even if it's like not catastrophic to the hardware or whatever. Like you shouldn't have to be rebooting servers that often. That's insane. Like your server should be able to stay on for weeks.
Do we think it's every? Oh, do they? Not we, but we the public, because I'm sure Intel is not saying what they think is going on.
Yeah. So Steve, was like, do we think it's a binning issue, right? Which is are these like parts that are kind of marginal, like they're on the edge of like meeting the quality standard or whatever, and they're getting in, and so then you see it, you buy a bunch of them, and you eventually get one of these that's bad, right? And it works sometimes and doesn't, but he doesn't know. And Intel wouldn't tell you if that's the case anyway, right? Because then that like makes them look bad.
I was just wondering if it was more of a like it's tied to certain motherboards or it's tied to certain voltages or or memory maybe.
Yeah, so they definitely checked that stuff, right? He's like, now I'm talking about the server guy as opposed to Steve. The server guy is saying, like, no, I'm talking about the guy's name is Wendell. He was on a video with Steve. Like Level 1 Techs is the YouTube channel, I think. But yeah, Wendell mentioned that they did all this work of, they checked like these aren't like just the K parts that people are overclocking, right? Because like the other thing that the people on the server end are doing, as opposed to like, because gamers are reporting this too, like people using these at home are seeing these failures, but it's like very easy to then Intel say like, oh, you were overclocking, oh, you were doing this, you didn't sit this stuff right or whatever. The people with the servers are setting them up correctly. They're using proper memory. They're using the right settings. They're not overclocking the server.
Right, yeah.
And so then when it's happening there too, and in large quantities, it definitely means something is up. So, I'm very curious to hear what Steve thinks the issue is, if they think they found something, or, what the response will be. But yeah, definitely seems like we got to stay away from those Intel CPUs for the moment. And Wendell, even that in the video I watched was saying that he thought it was likely that Intel wouldn't be able to fix it with a software update.
Whoa.
Yeah, I know. Steve wasn't as sure about that, but again, it's one of those, who knows?
That's kind of crazy. Because if it's more that are hiding out there that they don't know about yet, like an issue that's hiding out. Yeah, that's crazy.
And and Wendell was like saying, "Oh, Intel, will talk with these business customers and offer them 1,400 replacements for their 1,300 parts." And it's like, well,
yeah, what are they going to do for all these other customers, huh?
Yeah, well, and also if the 1,400 parts have the same failure, like what?
Oh yeah, good point. Yeah,
right. But good point. Like that's definitely a case where like Intel is potentially taking care of the business people, but then like what about all the other people, right? And that's where Steve is the hero we need.
Steve, his new thing of reaching out to experts and just like, hey, yo, come on here and talk about this thing that we experienced, is really valuable. I just watched a video because of all this Intel stuff. I watched a video from Noctua. They had the acoustic expert from Noctua come on and be like, explain this sound that we heard when we were doing testing on your latest cooler.
Oh, I watched that video. That guy's super interesting.
Fascinating. I watched that and said, wow, I can't believe the amount of work that goes into this. I already bought Noctua fans. I have a water-cooled PC, a water-cooled CPU, but that doesn't mean I don't use fans,
Yeah, and I mean, I think the other thing to be aware of is like, you see something from the outside and you're like, how hard can it be to design a fan? Right?
Oh, and then he tells you all this stuff and you think that he knows exactly how to design a fan. Then he goes, yeah, so then I hand all this information off to the guys that actually build the fans, design the fans, and get performance out of the fans, and they throw it all in the trash. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
And
he's like, and so here's where we are. We see this problem. We have no idea what to do. And you're just like,
well,
oh,
they know. I mean, he could fix it, right? He's like, I could make it sound like this. I could make it sound like that. I can make it sound like this. But the problem is you got to push air at a certain rate. Otherwise, the cooler is not going to work.
Or yeah, we could fix this, and this fan would be $400.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing. He was like, okay, so you really, really don't want this sound. Then we have to build a part basically that sits in between these two fans. We have to make sure in testing before you get the fan that these fans' bearings make them run at exactly the same speed. Then we have to run a controller that starts the fans at exactly the same time and then monitors the fan voltage and keeps it down, to exactly the right voltage to keep the fan spinning exactly in sync.
This is one of those things that probably people have never talked about or never thought about. But, if you have two fans, right, which is the problem he's describing here,
so
right?
Two fans in a push-pull orientation within a close distance to each other.
The air oscillations and stuff in them are going to make weird sounds and vibrations, and that's sort of the heart of the issue.
Mm-hmm.
But it's one of those things where you're like, we'll just make the fan bigger or make it more powerful or whatever. But then they go through all the math, even, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, if we kept this one more powerful, look at this frequency chart that it creates. And do this, and you overlay these, and when these signals, reach together at the same time, this is when the sound is annoying, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's cool that they've like done all that, and they're like, oh yeah, when we see this, we know it sucks. we're sorry, so we try to minimize that, right?
Well, the other fascinating thing I saw in that video, that now I'm going to go on their website and look for, is he was talking about that side panel. This is totally a component class moment. I love it. He's talking about the side panel on one of the most recent fractal cases that just came out, and it had a big, long air intake.
Yeah, a series of holes, right? And he's like, it makes a whistling sound.
Yeah, so this was like not a series of holes. It was a big, long grill. It was like a grill. And he's like, it made this huge, horrible whistling sound. But if we replaced it with circles, and the guy is like, yeah. He starts waving them off. He's like, this is exactly what's happening. This is exactly what's happening with this. This is exactly what's happening with that. If you create more holes, or actually better, because then you get micro oscillations instead of large whistling oscillations. He's like explaining all this stuff. He's like, and Noctua, we don't control any of that because that's the case manufacturer, and you'd hope they all do it one way so you could design your fan one way, but they don't. So blah, 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 blah. But then he ends that and he goes, so actually, we sell this thing on our website that backs your fans off the case by just a few millimeters. They're like spacers. They're like spacers for your case fans. He's like, the acoustics of your case are significantly improved by moving the fans back away from the edge of the case, right? Like the manufacturers want the fans right up against the case edge,
off the metal,
because it gives them the most space inside the case to say they can fit the largest things. But if you back them 5, 6 to 10 millimeters or even off of the actual case, the reduction in noise is significant.
Oh, interesting. That's a significant distance, though. So these must be pretty sizable, like they're little rubber things.
I don't know that the ones that he's selling or they were selling were large, but he's like, even 2 millimeters is enough.
Yeah, I mean, that's like a washer. Well, no, slightly bigger than a washer.
2 millimeters is a little bit bigger than a washer,
but like a big rubber stopper or something.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought that was fascinating.
Interesting. Yeah. Very interesting. Because it makes some sense, right? If a lot of the sound is transmitted through vibration,
sure,
thing is screwed into the case. The case is metal. Like that's vibration right there.
Yeah. And that's the other thing he says. You can't control vibration inside the case because a fan hitting, the glass could cause vibration in the metal that you can't control. I use rubber pads on the edge of the fans, and I don't use screws. I use pull through plastic tabs,
plastic clippy tab things.
To reduce vibration. But like moving them back, I have room in my case. I could move the fans further away from the vents into the case.
Because I mean, if you think about it, right? I mean, it's just air.
Yeah.
Air goes everywhere. It's not like you need to.
You don't need to be
sucking the air super hard through the holes or whatever, right?
Exactly. Yeah. That's what he was.
That's interesting
in that video. Yeah, it was fascinating.
Totally never thought about that part. That's like very sensible, actually.
Yeah. There you go. Component class. Woohoo! That was fun.
Yeah, very cool.
I miss PC building, but it's definitely the wrong time to do it. I don't have any.
Yeah,
not that much has come out. AMD's newest thing is probably coming very soon. Which will be a major step probably.
NVIDIA will be putting out a new graphics card probably late this year or early next, but like, who cares? They're going to say it does like better AI or some BS, and it's like, I don't want any AI. And it's like, can I just not? And so then, whatever.
Yeah. It just feels like, Zen 5. I think Zen 5 was just revealed like a month and a half ago.
Yeah, and you'll want to let those motherboards churn a little bit before you jump on the new one for sure.
I would assume those are going to be the same motherboards that are in the current generation of Zen 4s.
But you'll want to get the like Zen 5 specific one so you can upgrade farther in the future,
Yeah, sure.
Like this is the early adopter period, which is the most dangerous time to upgrade.
No, but they haven't even released it yet. So why would you jump onto these for another? Exactly. I mean, I think we're just in a PC building lull for the next couple years, at least personally.
Yeah, I think the only thing I'd be interested in doing is replacing my case with something else. My case is pretty old.
Oh, okay.
I could definitely use one that's
at least get a new I/O on the front,
Yeah, totally. One that maybe has like a mesh side instead of a glass side.
Oh, you don't want to see inside anymore? You're done with that?
You could see through mesh, dude. Like, I can see enough.
Sure. Yeah, you can. Oh man, I think the only thing I'm looking at doing, honestly, right now is adding more storage. I've got room to add. I think I have room to add 4 2.5-inch SSDs or 2.5-inch drives, but I ain't putting anything in there that vibrates. So it's gonna be SSDs.
SSDs aren't that expensive these days.
Yeah, it's like 100 and well, I buy Samsungs because I'm a poser or whatever.
But like, I mean, even still, like the dollar to gigabyte ratio is pretty decent. You know,
Yeah, I think the crucial. If you're really looking for the new B, what is it? B something? Flash. I don't remember what it's called. There's like a new style of flash. That's a little bit slower, but way more durable and cheaper. It just hasn't taken off yet. I think the Samsung QVOs and the Crucial B drives and all these other ones are made out of this newer flash storage stuff. But
so you can't mean BRAM, right?
It's not BRAM. Okay. No, I can't remember what
that means.
I don't think it's NAND.
I mean, NAND flash is the thing everything has been for forever. So
yeah, so it's a newer flash chip.
There's MRAM, which I've been working with actually at work, which is super cool.
Oh yeah,
but that's not. I don't think that's out like widely because of how insanely expensive it is.
Yeah,
but I mean, like Andy, infinite read-write cycles.
No.
Yeah.
MRAM has infinite read-write?
Yeah, it's supposedly using memristors underneath, and
okay.
I don't have time to explain like what a memristor is. But go look it up. It's supposedly, I can't prove that that's a lie. Like, I can't disprove it. But we haven't had failures of that part in
so this is using some sort of magnetic storage?
Yeah, it's a magnetic RAM.
What?
It's really small though. Like in terms of the size, we're talking like hundreds of megabytes.
Oh, okay. So this can't be scaled up for storage yet.
Who says it can't? Right?
I mean, like,
I don't know, but maybe it's very expensive or whatever. But we bought one. I've used it at my office, so it exists.
Yeah,
well, I don't know that it's useful to the level of like a hard drive yet, but
yeah,
dude, the technology exists. It's cool.
But it is a type of non-volatile RAM, right?
Yeah, it's non-volatile.
You can use it.
You
can use it for storage.
Yes.
Wow. I'm in, man. Infinite read-writes. I mean, you'd think it would put them out of business, but it won't because they'll just slow roll the amount of storage that it comes in. So, they'll still be in business forever. But yeah, I mean, 4 terabytes from Crucial is like $200 now. That's not too bad, I wish it were a little cheaper, but yeah. I just want the extra storage, man. I'm running out of space. I keep recording things I'm playing.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Speaking of recording things that you're playing, have you checked out the new Steam recording beta?
I wrote it down. It's called, what is it called? Proton? No, Proton is their
Proton is the OS on Steam.
OS, yeah. No, I have not tried it yet. Because NVIDIA's was built in, but it says it works on the deck.
It does say it works on the deck. It works on everything that runs Steam, apparently. Yeah. And it is enabled by default, or will be if you turn it on or whatever. And it just records, whatever you're doing. But the cool thing I saw is they have an API that you can use that will allow the interface that they're using to like automatically insert markers when things happen in games.
Yeah.
They showed an example with Dota because of course Steam would do it with Dota first. But the thing I saw today was the latest Trails game got an update that implemented it.
No. Okay, so it's game specific.
Yeah, the people have to implement it.
The game is looking for markers.
Right.
For those things. What I did notice...
And the guy was like, this was actually really easy. It took me very little time. And I think we're the third ever game to implement this, and the first one that wasn't Valve.
Wow.
So I thought that was pretty sweet.
I think the fun thing about it that I was reading that I have not figured out is that while it does use storage while it's working, you can also set it up to a hotkey.
Yeah.
So you can just tell it, okay, that was a moment I want saved, and it'll record back a certain amount of time, whatever you tell it. And at the end of your game session, whatever you've hotkeyed gets saved to the folder, and then it trashes the rest of it.
Yeah, so it's not we can link people to the blog post that Steam put up about it, but yeah, like they don't keep full length video files all the time.
Right.
So your hardware isn't constantly getting overrun with, video clips of you wandering around and getting lost or whatever.
Yeah. For my purposes, sometimes I like just having lots of the footage, right? But that's still doable with that software. You can still do that because
it doesn't stop you from that.
Yeah, lots of the footage allows me to have a lot to pull from later on if I need to.
And it's nice to have the hotkey to like automatically, create clips or whatever for it.
Clips or markers and all that sort of stuff.
You do something cool, you hit the hotkey to make sure that you get saved to a thing so that you can later go back and like show people, oh, this was when I got the triple kill or whatever, right?
Yeah. I don't know how I'm not a big sharer, but I do hope to integrate a lot more video into our YouTube in the future. Because it saves a lot on render time because it's already rendered.
Sure. And like I'm sure the when we get murdered by a charger in Helldivers or whatever, everyone would like to know what you saw seconds before disaster.
Usually it's nothing, and then I'm flying through the air forwards because it came up behind me.
They came from behind.
Yeah, I think Logitech also finally threw their voice meter software replacement. It's called Mixer, and it's not called Mixer because that was the.
I was going to say that's got to be trademarked by someone.
Mix Line. It is a Mixer. Mix Line is the name of their new software. That looks like it is a visual version of like Voice Meter and all these other programs. So you can basically tell the computer like, okay, Mixline is the one doing all the work. All the audio goes through there. And then you can just like drag these lines between every single audio device that is currently running. And you can like tell it, go to the stream, go to the recording, go to my headphones, don't go to the speakers, don't do this, don't do that. It's nuts looking. It looks very, very, very helpful. Between these two things, I'm going to have to spend some time learning new software for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I have plenty of time for.
I think that was facetious. He was joking. if you weren't clear.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think the other thing is that, unfortunately for us, our desire to keep this podcast low rent, due to, folks, we're not making money off this, to be clear. However, if you want to give us money, let us know.
I have some really interesting ideas on how to do ads so people can't skip them, just so you know. If there's people out there that are,
Well, folks out there who are interested in that stuff, contact us.
I ain't giving it away.
At We Were Gamers. Yeah, that's right. There's whole networks of stuff built around ads. So, I don't know how any of that works.
Speaking of like all these software and issues and stuff, I was having a problem and recording actually. Speaking of recording, I was having an issue when I was recording Civ 6 the other day. I was doing a bunch of footage. First of all, we'll talk about the issue and then we'll talk about Civ 6, I guess. But it was flickering.
The recording or the game?
The screen, just the screen of the PC would flicker black for a few seconds. And I thought maybe I was just super tired because one more turn,
Do be like that.
I don't know if people know. Do people know that meme anymore? Or has Civ 6 been out too long and Civ 7 is still not coming out? So
the real ones know.
The real ones know. Just go look it up. One more turn. So it's one more turn o'clock in the morning or at night. Do you take your pick? And I'm like, man, am I that tired? My eyes. Okay, I'm going to bed. So the next day, it's doing it again. And this just started randomly. It was working fine before. And I thought maybe I had broken something because I had noticed that while I was recording, or I had started recording it, that my complaint about, okay, the board looks really empty or whatever, might maybe be solved because most of my settings were on like low. I don't know why. So I went through and I just customed everything to max because I'm like, this is an old game and I have a good graphics card. There's no way that this should take any effort for this PC to run this game, you know?
Yeah.
And the higher it went, the more issues cropped up. Like the NPC, the other leaders, their hair started to disappear, like just gone. Like, you know, like, yeah, like Catherine the Great was bald. She had eyebrows and that was it. Like, it was very strange.
Starting to head into nightmare fuel territory.
It was, I mean, I have some of it. I'll send you some clips. I then had to look on the internet and it was like, hey, DirectX 12 and this game do not get along. So you have to drop it back down to DirectX 11.
Run DX11 or whatever.
I was like, okay, well, that's great. Okay, so DX11 got rid of a lot of the artifacting issues. It got rid of a lot of the upgrades to like the tiles, like looking better. Some of the shadows showed up right, but the flickering was still there. I did not notice because it was disabled because it shouldn't need to be enabled. That VSync was disabled. Okay, well, enable VSync, re-enable VSync. Nothing's changing. The only other setting I haven't tried, JJ, what do you think?
Is it this recording stuff?
Yeah, no, in like graphics settings for the game.
I don't know.
Frame rate cap.
Oh.
It needed to be capped to 60 frames a second for the flickering to stop.
What?
Yeah. I kid you not. The only thing that stopped the game from flickering was capping it to 60 frames a second.
Was it trying to do too many?
I don't know. I mean,
what frames were you getting? Did it show?
I didn't pull them up. I should have though.
Control R. I think.
Okay.
Control R turns it on in the Steam level.
Oh, okay. There you go. So I'll uncap it and turn it back on and see. But you know, I mean, the monitor only does 120. So
sure, I definitely have
140.
I definitely have seen issues with frame rate stuff where you leave it uncapped because you have G-Sync or whatever, right?
I have G-Sync, yes. So I have G-Sync monitors. They're running on DisplayPorts. It works. There's no reason I should have had to have V-Sync enabled or any frame rate limiting.
But the game doesn't support G-Sync, and so it doesn't do it right, and then it doesn't work. That's the thing that I've seen. And so it's very possible Civ 6 is like in that camp. Because like also, who cares what the frame rate is in Civ?
Yeah, I don't really care.
Cap it at 30, who cares?
Yeah.
Half the time you're staring at a screen trying to find +1 more food.
I am please wait is what I'm staring at all the time.
Waiting for the stupid Marie Antoinette to like deal with her troops.
Please wait for 300 turns, man. You're like, you have one unit. I've killed all your other units.
And then they get mad at you for starting wars, and you're like, I'm just trying to end the game.
I mean, Queen Victoria marched in and tried to like take one of my cities, and I took one of hers back, and she's been mad at me ever since. You should have messed. I went for science, which means I have tanks, and you showed up with horses.
It went predictably bad for them.
Yeah, I mowed over all their units. It was not a problem. It's funny how a science victory in that game really puts you ahead on everything. Maybe not production as much, but like you have better military, you have better everything if you just go science.
Yeah, the only problem is if you're spending all your time and resources doing science that like, yeah, you could get run over by someone making a ton of production, but the AI is not doing that.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Unfortunately, right?
Unfortunately. Yeah.
Love Civ.
It also doesn't make for super in-depth recording, right? I was recording stuff and like I was making sure that I could hear Sean Bean because that was like the most interesting thing that was happening every time I would hit like a wonder or whatever. Like, oh, this is finally interesting instead of
Sean Bean, read me a quote of poetry, please.
I mean, I like when he's reading like quotes from like skaters and stuff like that. You know, you're like, yes, that's very deep of you, Sean Bean.
I love
Please
it.
read more.
Tell me what Tony Hawk said about the 900.
Yes, exactly. Oh man, it's a good game. I don't know. I'm sure I don't play it very efficiently compared to people that play Civ more than me. But like, I get 300 turns in, and I'm just like, just build the science already. Let's just give me the rockets. I'm so far ahead. Just give me the rockets. It's 1910, and I've already landed on the moon. Don't I already win?
Yeah, unfortunately, he's still going to take you quite a while.
I've been not trying for culture literally at all. And Macedonia is next to me in the game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the computer's doing, but every single one of his cities that I border rebels and joins my empire.
It's probably what he's doing is not doing a very good job of keeping the citizens happy.
Yeah.
It's also one of those things that like there are a lot of buildings that just like coincidentally have like one culture attached to it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And your cities are like hyper developed when you're doing science, right? So you have like every tile filled out.
That's true.
And you can't just sit there and build nothing. Build that museum, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, museums help you with science, so
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
They have culture there
in
too,
the long
unfortunately.
run. People are going to be like, no, their culture, blah blah blah. I get it, yes, but there are
you want a couple because there's stuff you'll get
there's
science
civics you want later on that, and like great works and stuff start showing up. And I'm at the point now though that like there aren't enough scientists for me to get, and people aren't taking the bad scientist off the board that I passed. Yeah. Annoying. Meanwhile, I have aircraft carriers just sitting out in the ocean with nothing on them. Civ is a good game, man.
Mm-hmm. Sure is.
Bring Civ 7 out. You know?
Yeah, please.
How's Elden Ring?
Man, that game's pretty good.
Yeah. Do you have more to do?
Yeah, still a lot more. I've beaten a bunch more bosses. We talked about Bale last time.
I've watched that video you sent of the guy screaming the Bale lines.
Those are the in-game actual voice lines of that character. That's not an exaggeration. That's just the recording they used.
I want to be a voice actor now.
I know. He's so
if
good.
You're allowed to have that much fun. I thought you were supposed to be serious. I thought you couldn't have any fun. I thought you had to deliver lines in some sort of boring fashion. This guy is having the time of his life screaming at that dragon.
It's so funny. And the fight is like, you don't have any time to deal with this guy.
So explain this to me again real quick. Do you have to summon him in this fight, or are there people out there? Are there people out there that have never experienced this guy's yelling?
Oh yeah, so many people must have missed him.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, it's a completely optional thing to even encounter him in the first place, right? I mean, you could play the entire DLC and not encounter this Bale dragon at all. You don't have to go there.
Really?
Yeah, it's not on the required path at all.
Okay, so you could not see the dragon ever.
Right, and not see the multiple other dragons leading up to that dragon. Like, you don't have to go to any of that stuff.
Okay, but you could also miss...
And then this guy along
the way, is he not part of the quest line?
There's not really a quest that takes you here. This guy kind of starts the quest. But again, he's just a dude sitting on the ground, you know, as you're running through the hills or whatever. And if you don't talk to him, just run past. Nothing you need to do, and you can continue on, you know.
Okay.
But his quest is not hard. It just then you follow it down this road and, you know, fight a bunch of dragons along the way and do some stuff. And and then eventually culminates in fighting this Bale dragon. That was his nemesis or whatever. But yeah, super cool. And then of course he dies, and then you can go back and get his stuff afterwards.
Huh.
But yeah, super cool fight. Like the really mean thing is that the dragon, is not waiting for you. Like you walk in the door, the dragon is like, "Let's go!" Like there's not time for you to like cast your spells or like get stuff going. The dragon is just like charging you as you open the door, right?
Really?
Yeah.
That's very
Or he's like, the dragon's you open the door and the dragon is already breathing in for the first fire breath, and you're like, okay, I guess I need to run.
Okay.
But his summon sign is right there, and you have to like walk up and press the button. So what it actually means is you have to like run away and go do stuff, and then come back around and hit him later. But that was the only way I was able to get him in there. But every time you do it, you love it because he does this. Curse you, Bale, and the whole series of lines. Really awesome. Love that guy.
I'm into it.
But yeah, not the only boss I fought. Fought a big snake dude, Mesmer, which you see in some of the marketing. I fought a giant corrupted sunflower. That was pretty cool.
Okay.
I now have a giant hammer that's like the giant head of a sunflower. That's pretty cool.
Beautiful.
Dude on a pig, almost like a boar rider kind of guy.
A pig boar rider guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's all like armored, like it kind of looked like a tank almost to the point, but like, it was a boar. So like you could barely tell where the like armor on the side stopped and the guy started. That was pretty cool. A couple other dragons. I fought a hippo.
Nice.
Elden Ring's pretty weird, man.
I'm starting to listen to that. I'm starting to figure that out. We talked about it the other day when it was like, I feel like all those things are just like demons all the time. And you're like, no, not so much.
Yeah, I think, people don't give it enough credit for the variety,
Yeah.
There's some in there. So
nice.
But yeah, it's been cool. Hey, what other game is pretty cool? Have you been playing some of those New York Times daily games?
I have. I reinstalled the app on my phone recently because I want to become a daily New York. Well, I'm not subbed yet, but
you want to become a crossword sicko like Michael and I?
I do play the mini, my man. I'm on the mini. I'm on the mini.
Do
I'm
it.
on the mini.
Do it.
I'm on the mini.
Come on.
I have enough time when I wake up. I moved my alarm 10 minutes earlier so that I could do the daily puzzles real quick. It helps me wake up in the morning. That's what I'm using it for now.
Okay.
Like,
I do most of them in the morning also. So
if I can't figure out like Wordle very quickly, I know I need to kind of like wake myself up somehow. You know what I mean?
Sure, yeah.
Connections is usually one of those ones that like it starts to wake me up when I start thinking about it, and then when I can't figure it out is when I'm usually hit my 10 minutes, and then I go about my morning and then come back to the ones I haven't finished later on. I know they just one of the reasons I re-added it was they added that game you guys have been talking about, Strands.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get at first that like the challenge is to try and do it without the hints, so I was just like finding hints.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I'll find 10 hints and then I'll get the puzzle will be over. And then they showed me at the end, they're like, you used a bunch of hints. I'm like, oh, is that bad?
I mean, I think it's a valid way to play if you just want to, do a word search effectively, right?
Yeah, but the idea of taking the clue, like, I guess it's a spoiler, but I can say it because whatever, the day is over already. But like today's, you did today's, I assume.
Yeah.
Baby animals, right? Like, you can kind of think about, okay, grew up in a barn. What grows up in a barn? Animals. Well, animals starts in the middle of the puzzle, so it's got to be connected to something else. Well, there's a Y here. There's the word baby, you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't hard to find that without hints.
Yeah.
I don't know. Strands seems interesting, but it's a fancy word search. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. I mean, maybe I'll become a crossword weirdo like you guys, but I like doing the mini. It's quick.
The mini is the gateway drug.
Yeah. Like yesterday was is there a name for when you have two hints that are similar and then they're connected and they overlap each other? So like the top of the mini hint was this character said this line, and then the character ended up being Homer, and then the down from the M in Homer was Marge.
One of the things I really dislike about the regular crossword is when there are two clues that cross each other that are like both proper nouns or something,
Mm-hmm.
and you just don't get them. You know, it's like, oh, you know, a famous writer of this book that you've never heard of, and it's like, okay, well, I'm not getting that. What's the cross here? You know, it's like I need another letter. What's the cross? And the crossing clue is like, oh, a poet from 1970s,
Yeah.
and you're like, this is impossible without cheating.
Yeah. What was interesting about it was that they're related, right? Like they used the same wording for the clue with just different lines that they used.
Mhm.
So it was like a clue in of itself. It was like they're both characters from the same show.
So there are like in the regular crossword, there will be like theme type clues that have like, some kind of connective tissue between them. I want to say, oh, well, you're not going to do it. I can say it, and Michael won't listen to this until it's already been done. But there were some of these long clues which had pictures. And the pictures were depicting a gesture, and you could figure out that the gesture is American Sign Language. And so if you can figure out what the gesture means, you could fill in the clue, basically.
Oh,
and then one of the like long answers was American Sign Language. It was sort of like telling you, a hint to these other puzzles, these other clues. It's, if you figure this out, then you can go, oh, these are American Sign Language. What do these things mean?
Got it.
Yeah, so kind of cool, right? And there are way more elaborate ones. There was one I saw, I think Michael and I might have talked about it, that had like the same word was repeated like 6 or 7 times in the puzzle, but with different meanings. And so all the clues were different, but used
it's the same word 6 times?
Yeah, I used the same word like 6 or 7 times
awesome.
in the puzzle. And it was like maddening because usually they never do that. And so when you're answering the clues, you're like, I already used this. Like, I don't think I should put it here, right? But then it's the only thing that fits.
Yeah. That's pretty funny. Yeah, New York Times games. Good for your brain, I think, probably. I do the easy Sudoku because I can do it in my head without writing anything down. Also. Yeah. I'm just trying to limber up, man, in the morning. It's like part of my stretching routine now. So I'm really glad they updated that app, and the new game was pretty good. So, and they also added Wordle archive for you guys.
Yeah. I've been doing the Wordles, but it's I'm not as religious about it as I used to be. Once I finally broke my super long streak.
Oh, right. Yeah. Every time I go camping, I break streaks now. So it's not that big a deal. It cured me of my COTC dailies. Yeah. Yeah. If you're email us, right? Email us about
Sure.
favorite New York Times game.
Ooh, good one.
Yeah.
They send that to podcast@weweregamers.com. podcast@weweregamers.com.
Oh, I remembered. I didn't remember. I remembered once I looked up. It is NAND storage, but normal NAND storage is MLC, and these are QLC.
Okay.
QLC is not multi-layer; it's quad layer, which means it has more reliability. I think you can write like twice as many terabytes, right? Because multi-layer means double, and quad layers double quad, so you could double It's like 3,000 terabytes written instead of whatever, until we can all get better MRAM, I guess.
Well, the problem with MRAM, I think, is that only a few companies have patents on it, and it's kind of crazy expensive. But they're out there; you can find it.
Well, we'll see if this QLC thing takes off. There's only a few companies trying it, and it's a little bit slower, so I think people aren't catching on with it as much. It's not significantly cheaper.
Yeah, all that stuff is always a matter of time, you know. Like eventually, it either gets cheaper or everyone decides it sucks and then goes on to something else, right?
That's true. Well, they just keep inventing new stuff too fast for people to adopt stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know. Well, adopt our YouTube channel with your
there you go.
views.
Yeah, that's youtube.com/@WeWereGamers.
And hopefully Michael's feeling better next week. And we'll be back for 2 episodes and then I'll do a little break. So just a little
I think
summer
next
vacation.
week is next week would be the pre-Comic-Con episode because
pre-con, yeah, pre-con.
Coming up soon.
Pre-Comic-Con pre-Comic-Con preview of preview night or whatever. I'm just talking now, JJ, till you tell me we're done.
We're done.